Welcome to Peak Personalities. This is a series we'll be doing bi-weekly with me and Nathan. The concept will be going by one series at a time, talking about some of our favorite moments, and for now, we're covering Bleach. Alright, we are back. It's time, Nate, for you to guess my character.
Okay, do I get a hint, or is it too easy if I hint?
I'm picking from the captain pool.
The captain pool. Ooh. I'm gonna go. You know what? Our female cast has been pretty low. I'm gonna say Urana.
Nah.
Really? Okay, so we got a man then. Okay.
There's like two captain females.
Okay. Yeah, it's true. Okay.
I think there's 4 in total.
Yeah, are we counting new gen?
Nah, I'm counting every captain ever.
What's the other captain? The female captain? I'm forgetting now.
There's Soifon, Yoriichi, Unohana.
I don't count Soifon.
Squad 0, you got Hikumi.
Squad 0 doesn't count. I'm talking head captains here, like the squadrons.
There's also the Squad 0 captains, but there's definitely not enough material for those. There's a couple females in that.
Yeah, no. Oh, I know who it is. It's Komamura, isn't it?
Not today, my guy. We're covering the man, the shadow, the legend, Shunsui.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I'll play with this one.
So we're going for the laziest, sake drinkingest guy in Bleach, with Shunsui Kiraku.
Goated.
He's got the lovely, what would you call it, kimono? The overthrow.
I definitely would call it a kimono.
That silly, goofy straw hat that he always wears.
Very oriental.
Yeah. For intro, I mean, he's a main captain for Squad 8 for the longest time. He has one of the goofiest intros ever because now it's just standing there with like a pedal box, dropping pedals on him while he's like standing majestically in front of Chad. And then she runs out of flowers. He's like, oh, this kind of sucked.
By the way, of all captains to run into, poor Chad. I think there's a handful that I wouldn't want to run into, like in terms of like can absolutely like one tap you.
I mean, poor Chad because he had no chance at winning, but like lucky Chad because this is one of those captains that would not kill a human for no reason.
That is true. There was a couple captains I wanted. I guess he's the best one to run into in terms of like
living.
Yeah, living. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Kenpachi would have just straight up off Chad. Oh, he probably would have got bored.
He'd have gotten the Giriko treatment potentially.
I think so. Yeah, I think Mayuri would probably be the worst one. Okay.
Oh yeah, that would be pretty bad. I mean, Mayuri with his hands on Fullbringer like Chad probably have done some very horrific things to him.
Yeah.
So we're moving to our pivotal moments, and I feel like this one in this specific spot kind of writes itself. There is no greater change he incites into the plot than when he becomes head captain, because as much as Yamamoto is like a steadfast leader and he does make some good changes for the plot, like he helps Ichigo regain his powers, the direction and choices Shunsui was able to make in the 1,000-Year Blood War was pivotal, and I can't imagine another captain being able to make the ballsy moves that he made. For example, sacrificing Unohana to make sure Kenpachi releases his Shikai and Bankai, and then releasing Aizen, knowing it would be controversial, and risking everything for a shot at maintaining the status quo by getting Aizen to work with them. And then he also has some crazy moments in the 1,000-Year Blood War that we'll get to later, you know, stopping Lil Baro, where Namaya couldn't even manage that.
You kind of stole my fire right there, but you know I can still add to it. You know, I think you're right. His most pivotal moment is definitely the 1,000-Year Blood War. I think Kubo intentionally, you know, it was more than just that he's possibly, like, arguably the strongest of the rest of the Gote in terms of Bankai. I think he's definitely the strongest. You know, his ability's kind of busted, but his relation with Yamamoto, I think, very solidified his, not only solidified his role, but it also showed that you've seen the tone shift with Kiraku when he became head captain. His goofy, like, laid back kind of nonchalant behavior became very serious. I remember I think the anime portrayed this really well when he did make the decision to like get Aizen out. All the head captains were like, dude, what? And they were there. It was all a bunch of Yamamoto wouldn't have done that. Yeah, what about pride? And Kiraku was like, settle up your pride. We have no shot without him. Like, as much as you want to do it, we have no shot.
He's like, beat my ass later if we
Yeah,
win.
yeah, for real. And I don't know if Yamamoto would have made the decision. I honestly, I'm gonna say no.
I really don't think he would have.
I think Yamamoto has way too much pride, and it kind of just solidifies that he is that like voice of reason rather than someone that's filled with pride. I'm sure he does have his pride and probably was reluctant to do it in the first place because him and Aizen really don't mess with each other that much, if not at all. But he knew the situation. Like, I think he read the situation so well. He was like, yeah, we have no shot. So he's our best shot. So we might as well grab the immortal guy and hopefully he can be in a chair and still do some damage.
Yeah, and one of the other things I really liked is that scene where we know so much of his goofy persona at this point, but we never start to see the shadows uplift and the true darkness that lies within it and the decisions he's willing to make. And I really like how at the end of the first invasion where everyone's like, we're basically fucked. We lost our Bankais. These people are injured. Byaku is, believed to be dead outright. He's like, guys, I don't want to hear it. Yamamoto have bent you over his knee and spanked your ass because this is a bunch of bullshit. We have to decide how we're going to get through this as adults, basically.
I don't know if you want to call it irony or duality of his fun kitty nature being more serious as the stakes get higher.
So we're going to move over to strong character moment. And for this, I'm picking a very, very small scene at the end of everything. Seeing him try to wrap up the little Baro fight and be unsuccessful, and then being united with Danao and basically saying, here's everything. It's really interesting because usually we think of shadows as a way to mask or hide things, not something to connect and share things. He drags Danao into the shadows and tells her entire backstory and sets her up into a spot to reflect this attack, is basically saying, I'm not strong enough to have another person die and leave their valuable possessions in my hands. I need you to be strong enough to rid me of this curse and all these burdens I've been holding on for so long. And I think that's such a strong character moment for him because it basically summarizes the entire character and is like the peak of his character writing and all the things we didn't know hiding under the hood that were weighing on him until this moment.
I think he perfectly explained it. I also like his Bankai. While we don't have a full deep dive into the explanation of it, I believe his Bankai is the death sentence. Like, he's supposed to die and do it. And because I believe the end of the act is the lovers die. I don't know if he has control of the acts, but I do think that he went into that battle with Lily Baro of dying. By releasing his Bankai, by telling everyone they need to get away. And I think that's another strong character moment of him, that he is more fit for that role of a captain than I think anyone. While I do think all they need to go would die for it, he understood that every little win mattered, and especially against Libaro. And I think that personally encapsulates who he is. And as someone that hides in the shadows, as his demeanor is and how he plays his games and such, it's funny how serious and his personality is really out there rather than hidden, if you will.
Yeah, I really think the way the Bankai connects to his personality is a really interesting character study to dive into.
I mean, remember, the blade is you, so.
Yeah, the blade is you. Moving on to biggest surprises. I don't know if you have a bigger stab at a surprise for this section, but for me, the biggest surprise was the first time we see Kageoni, I believe, being used against Stark, where Stark dips his pinky toe onto the building and then Shunsui stabs him through the chest. And you're just like, oh, okay.
This is happening.
Yeah, this is happening.
That's your biggest surprise for him?
Yeah, that's my biggest surprise.
Honestly, I have a couple biggest surprises. One's like a kind of a good moment, the other one's kind of a fail. I don't know if him getting shot in the eye was. I have a hard time believing him getting shot in the eye by
Robert
Akroton. I have a hard time believing that he would legit just let that happen. I mean, given his speed feats and the characters he's fought, especially Lilibaro.
It seemed like that was almost going to happen to him against Stark at one point.
I mean, even Stark would make sense. I'm. I mean, I guess the eye patch makes him look cool. I love the eye patch, but I have such a hard time believing him getting his freaking eye blown out. It makes sense in terms of like battle ready he can be and how locked in he usually is. I just definitely a low moment for me for him, but I mean that was a surprise. And then I believe in the fight against Stark, he debated on using Bankai during when Stark was just blasting millions of Ceros at him or thousands. And that was pretty surprising reading back into it because I was like, wow, he was about to just off everyone around him. And I'm guessing that's why there was some hesitancy. But from what I was reading, he was about to do it.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like that until Ukitake basically stepped right in the middle of the fight. He's like, "Yeah, but you're not. You're just
You're not
not."
doing that. You're not gonna do that.
So moving on to peak moments, and this is probably just going to be the most obvious peak moment. I'm throwing into the ring the one-on-one fight against Lil Baro, because no matter how downtrodden on his luck he seems as he's getting turned into Swiss cheese throughout the fight, he still is staying in the fight just long enough to be a X factor against Lil Baro. And that Bankai panel, absolutely lovely. I'm not sure why they went yellow in the anime. That's like a big question mark for me. I thought they were gonna go purple. Purple's pretty symbolic of darkness and shadows, and it would tie with his sword spirit's hair color a lot better.
Mm-hmm. From what I read in Japanese theatrics, a yellow background is common. I still think the darker hue or something in the background would have been a better choice, but I mean, I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, some things just don't make sense because like they still kept that scene of someone saying like, "Oh, this darkness wave over me." It's like it looks like the sun's out, guys.
I mean, I like how they when he goes to slice off his head, Lily Barrow's head. At least they did a full white spread with the red line. I thought that was pretty cool. Kind of symbolized him like drawing. That was dope.
Yeah, I really like that effect. It kind of had a watercolor effect to it almost.
Mm.
And one of the things I really like about the Lobaro fight is it kind of seems like a play on Fate. Like his Shikai is a play and it's children's games.
Mm-hmm.
But as you mature and you get older, you stop playing, doing like hopscotch, and you start getting into theater. And the tragedy ties very well with his own life and his history as it's, delved into during this fight. And I think what's also poetic about it is a play is already a finished story. And it seems like the acts might have some variables to them, like the actions of your opponent could set them down a different path. Like, for example, like you plunge yourself into the abyss and then Lil Baro tries to fly out of the abyss. If you just sat there and he had more spiritual pressure, I kind of take it as like Shunsui just kind of wrote his own death. Like how far you're willing to go to take someone down.
Well, and that's the things we don't know about his Bankai. I lean more to because of how Bankai's broken they can be. I'm leaning towards more he's like the acts are kind of pre-wrote out for him and he's just enacting them or just, playing them. Like, imbues the sickness, the illness on Louis Barrow. You immediately see just blood spores just start going over his body. He starts spewing blood out of his nose. Like it's. I don't think the amount of spiritual pressure someone else could have could negate that effect.
Not that part. There's one part where he says, this is what we're going to be doing until our spiritual pressures run out. And I think that's the part where if you theoretically had more spiritual pressure, you might be like outdo the Bankai against Shunsui. But the other parts aren't spoken about like that.
Yeah, I wonder how true it is that like between one of them running out of spiritual pressure first, because I feel like his reserves are probably high, but can he like alter the acts to make someone use more spiritual pressure to try to stay alive if not? Because he seems like he's pretty in control of the whole thing.
Yeah, and the way he's in control kind of makes me think there might be different plays he could act out.
Depending on the opponent.
Maybe.
Why, if we're going down the line that he has multiple plays, why do you think he chose the lever one?
I think because it ties to his entire past
Mm-hmm.
with like his brother and his wife, how like lovers can never be together.
Mm.
I mean, Shunsui just really reeks of a character who's been defined by one moment. You think of Batman, and he's defined by his parents being killed when he was a kid as Bruce Wayne. I feel like Shunsui has never really stepped past that moment. He wears the kimono, he wears the hairpins, he's constantly reminded of everything because he chose now to be his lieutenant. Maybe with further stories, we can see Shunsui depart from this with like no hairpins or no kimono, but up until that fight, he's defined by the tragedy of his past.
Yeah, and he seems like he wears it, like, I mean, metaphorically and physically here, like he wears it like as a badge of honor. Like he doesn't seem like he's like he uses the past as a reminder for where he is. Where he has come. It sounds cliche, but he really is defined by his past.
Moving on to the last section, favorite thing about them and character quote that happens after Stark's defeated, where Love is criticizing Shunsui. He's like, "You haven't changed. You never had manners, and you always butt into their other people's fights." And Shunsui says, "Losers focus too much on means and lose sight of winning. Captains don't have that luxury. Don't try to act like a good boy. Someone may owe you, or you may owe someone, but the moment you start a war, you're both evil." And then the next panel is Aizen, and I feel like this is not only foreshadowing, but a great moment to highlight that he's willing to work with the devil if it gets him a victory on his side, because he feels like morality is already gone once a war is started.
I wish I could pull out more Bleach quotes because he's very poetic. For me, for my favorite thing about Kiraku, mine's a little bit more lighthearted. How do you feel about him loving his Zanpakuto? How do you feel about that? That theory, at least.
Okay, what's really weird is Ohana talks about like being pregnant or something,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't understand that at all. There's basically no other reference in the entire material to make sense of that. When we see him training against Ukitake in the past, he was practicing with two swords. We really don't see anyone practice with two swords unless they had dual wield Zanpakutos. And it's talked like anyone with dual wield Zanpakutos were like born different and had more spiritual pressure than other people. And the only other people we see with dual wield Zanpakutos would be Ichigo. Hisagi doesn't count because they're connected by a chain. It's the same sword.
Yeah.
So it's weird because it would imply that he already was going to have a dual wield Shikai because he was training that way from the start. But at the same time, the material also implies that the second sword was like later. So it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. I like to think that, he has some type of relation with his Zanpakuto spirit. And I like to think that means he really loves himself, if you will. Maybe he has, like, despite his tragedies he's dealt with, that he still has a fond for who he is and always stayed true to himself. So maybe that's where you can go with it. But that's probably one of my favorite things about him. My head, especially how, like, Ohana acts around him, it really makes the blade is me thing kind of confusing, because I know, like, Ohana's like a Zanpakuto spirit, but it feels very like I love myself kind of thing.
I mean, he did come with the design first. I wonder if he just wanted to show Shunsui kind of connect even further to his Zanpakuto, because Ohana has an eye patch.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's great about the eye patch is it's like another shadow in his design.
Ooh.
Like normally his shadow is his hat and how it kind of the Urahara effect, where when he was saying some creepy ass shit, his face would be dark, and other times it basically wouldn't have a shadow at all. And the eye patch covers the eye, and the eyes are just a great symbolic metaphor for losing sight of things and losing your way. And in a strange way, sometimes disabilities or injuries can change people for the better. I think that's another great signifier for the shift in his character as a person. It all happens after that injury.
Oh yeah, he has just a more deeper, serious personnel. I think we can dig into something else with him.
Yeah, what you want to dig into?
You know what? I gotta throw the Aizen thing in there. Shunsui has indeed spoken with Aizen on more than one occasion, and I found it was pretty nice that in the Thousand Year Blood War, where Aizen's sitting in his chair, he's like, yeah, you want to like get the rest of these bindings off me? He looks right at him, and basically Shinsuke's like, yeah, you can piss off with that. Like,
He's like, I only have some of the keys, honestly. He's like, I actually have one more. He's like, yeah, it's actually buried in my heart,
good luck
so
with that. And I also like when he went down there to speak with Aizen in the first place. The banter between the two was definitely big, like, I hate you, and they're both like, I hate you too, but we both have a common goal here. And I don't know if he knew that Aizen was going to be for it. I mean, I guess it was like a
it was really a fucking, let's just go for it, because we're gonna lose this, or we're gonna lose this.
and I think Aizen did. I mean, he had the same, pretty much a similar offer from Yuha, but I don't think their morals, their at least their goals aligned. But I guess Shunsui, maybe Shunsui just knew that Aizen had still a soft part for the Soul Society. Maybe that shows that he knew how to read Aizen a little bit better than others. I don't know. I guess Urahara would be the other one.
Yeah, I mean, there's just such a darkness about Shunsui that I feel like since he has to hide from everyone else, he's learned how to read everyone else.
He can be very sadistic, I can't lie. Like, especially when he's speaking to Lily Barrow, like there was definitely an eeriness to the fight a little bit. Like the first part of the fight was very lighthearted, like when he like appears behind him from the shadows and he's like right behind him and he's like smiling as he's coming down. Like that was, I don't know, I enjoyed his little banter at first, and then he became more serious as the fight drew on. Also, what's with him fighting ranged opponents? Why do you think Kubo does that?
Especially with Stark, you get to see this where they're both dual wielding characters, and then they kind of just slowly ramp up the tempo with their arsenal. And maybe he would have done the similar thing with Robert. I'm not really sure. We got so little from Robert. He basically isn't a character, which is unfortunate.
I don't think we got his letter either. So
no, it's N.
Yeah, we know it's N, but we don't know the shrift.
Everyone assumes it's N for nimble because he kind of has speed feats, but honestly, like his speed feats, I feel like other people could do without specializing in power. I just think dual swords, dual guns pairs nicely, and then I think when it comes to him and Lil Barrow, it's less about the gun aspect and more like Lil Barrow is like an aspect of light and Shunsui's aspect of dark.
Ooh, yeah, no, that's a good duality there.
And while Shunsui is ready to revel in the dark and like commit any sin to do what he needs necessary on a warfare, Lil Barrow is like identifying and leaning into holy scripture and angelic angles and talking about the watch being like his savior and things like that. I think that's more of the dynamic they have than, sword and gun.
Yeah, I agree. How do you feel about the God slaying sword? How do you feel about that? I know the biggest take with it is that it's it was a freaking Deus Ex Machina sword.
I get it. So the way I always talk about Deus Ex Machinas is like it can be a Deus Ex Machina and bad, or it can be a Deus Ex Machina and good. So for me, there's a bullshit-ometer, right? And when it comes to a bad Deus Ex Machina, it's like the lion turtle showing up in the season finale for Aang, and then he blocks Ozai's chi, and he's like, oh yeah, he can't firebend, so the world's saved. And you're like, well, we knew lion turtles existed before this, but we didn't even know this was a thing that was possible. Like, why wasn't this set up before the last 4 episodes of the story? But there are so many things hinting towards an being strange and unique throughout the entire story. We never see her carrying a sword. First and foremost, she's always carrying a book.
Yes.
She's the only combative lieutenant, you could say, that has glasses. I'm pretty sure everyone else that uses glasses is like the research and development.
She focuses on keto as well, right?
The only lieutenant that is 100% keto. So that's all these things just stick out like a sore thumb. It's like, being mad that Ichigo has a weird sword, but it's like, okay, but his first sword didn't have a scabbard when he had Zangetsu. The one before that, Renji and Byakuya said, that's fucking wrong. That's too big. He doesn't know what he's doing. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, it's leaning towards Ichigo being different and on train.
Yeah.
It's foreshadowing. And it now has a lot of foreshadowing. Now, will I say it was foreshadowing to be able to have the power to defeat God? No, not necessarily. necessarily, but enough for you to know that something is coming and you don't know when it's coming and when this backstory starts, and it's all about the now.
Yes.
You can feel the writing on the wall, and it feels right when she wins this because of all the other little victories and steps that got you to this point. Unlike Aang and the Lion Turtle.
I agree. I liked how it was kind of Kubo used it as a way to show the deepen the relationship between Shunsui and Nanao. That was one of my favorite. That was one of my favorite parts of it.
It's like all those fights near each other. You have when Yuri and Nemu, that's strengthening the bond between captain and lieutenant. Then hasn't been animated yet, but Urahara and Yoruichi seemingly is supposed to be developing the bond they had as Yoruichi's captain and Ukitake's lieutenant. Hopefully they add some sort of backstory to make it more like the other fight, which is this one with Shunsui and Nanao, which is really hammering home their relationship and why they're a pair. Why he became head captain and said, Nanao knows how to handle me, and the other guy, Okakiba, knows how to handle Division 1. I need both, okay?
You're not wrong. That was good. I also like how his shadows concept also hid in with his hiding her sword and holding on to that for that clan.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty neat.
The shadows also are a great representation of all the dark secrets he's had to keep throughout his life that have put him in really tricky situations.
I like that. Yeah, that's good.
The man, the myth, the legend, the Dark King, the Shadow King.
I think we're gonna go Shadow King because when I think Dark King, I think of Rayleigh from One Piece. But whole other character.
That's all we got for sure.
That's all I got as well.